For the past 20 years, I have been involved with an organization that really focuses on access to education as a transformative process that, not just for incarcerated people, but for anyone, really opens up an entire world of opportunities to a person. So when I talk about education being the thing that I would care most about in terms of making sure people in prison and people who have criminal convictions and are not incarcerated have access to, I don't think that it's a silver bullet, and I don't think it's the answer to criminal justice. I think criminal justice is a different problem. It's about punitiveness and it's about vindictiveness, when it really should be about finding out what is the root problem, as Deanna talked about earlier. But in the midst of incarceration, for me, what education does is liberate the mind. And education has only been legally denied to one population in America's history prior to denying education to incarcerated people. And that was slaves. Slaves were forbidden to learn how to read and write. And Frederick Douglass said that once you liberate a mind, once you educate a person, it is impossible to enslave them. So that very idea that the way to keep slaves oppressed in a system of chattel slavery was to ensure their continued ignorance and illiteracy made me think, well, the way to keep a people oppressed by a system of incarceration that has its roots grounded in the historical legacy of slavery and racial oppression is also to keep them from the process of education, which gives people so many options and does not limit them to some cookie cutter plan for becoming whatever society thinks they ought to become, but becoming what the universe created them to be. So for me, making sure that as long as we have prisons, people are not languishing in prisons without access to education is the top priority for me, aside from their physical safety and well-being, which is what the Just Us campaign is all about. That, of course, has to come first, because people were not sentenced to die in prison. Education is the thing that allows a person to connect themselves to everybody else in our society, to see themselves in other people, to see other people in themselves, and to connect in a world that makes it less likely that they feel what Arthur talked so eloquently about, so disconnected and abandoned, that there is no incentive, there is no motivation, there is absolutely no reason for me to abide by a contract when no one seems to have a contract with me that is about my health, my safety, my development, and my thriving. Education allows us to find that bond with other people outside of our immediate world, to bond with the suffering that has happened throughout history in other communities and connect it to our own suffering. But not just connect to the suffering, connect to the possibilities that lie before us in the future, and to learn the ways people carved a path to get to those possibilities to create a future, and to acknowledge all of the different ways, all of the different cultures and societies on this earth that have created opportunities for people. How can we learn to do better from what other people have done? It's through education.